Hey guys, it's Bernie with Raw Customs Mobile Install. Today I'm going to be going over a few tips that I've learned over the years using a AA battery in car audio situations. First thing to keep in mind, use only a AA battery. Do not use anything bigger, especially a 9 volt. That being said, the best tool to use in a car audio situation is a digital multimeter. Alright, first thing I'm going to do is show you what I've done to the battery to make it easy for me to test in a vehicle or outside the vehicle on a test bench. Alright, all you're going to need for this is a brand new AA battery, a couple of pieces of scrap wire in different colors, that way you can separate positive and negative, and a roll of electrical tape. I'm going to be using the white on the positive side and the black on the negative side. On batteries, the top portion here with the protruding end is your positive, and a flat surface on the other side is your negative. Alright, so first thing you're going to want to do is strip the ends and make them nice and flat, because you want to get a good surface contact on the battery. Well, like I said, I'm doing the negative first here, and you want to take a small piece of tape, make sure it's sitting flat, and then what I'm going to do is put a tape to keep that in place. Now I'm going to do the same thing with my positive. Another piece of tape. Position it opposite side of the black piece and fold it over, and then also secure this one with a piece of tape. And pull it through so that the wire is sitting right on top. Same with the negative. Now you're going to take a bigger piece of tape and you're going to wrap around the entire battery from the top to the bottom to make sure that the negative and the positive stay in contact with the battery. So I'm going to start halfway down the one side, come along the top, make sure that negative is in there, and then go right over it. Then I'm going to circle around to the positive, make sure the positive is right over the piece that's coming up, secure it over, and then just wrap your excess all the way around. Make sure it's really nice and tight, because you don't want these coming undone, because then you're going to get a false reading or no reading at all. Alright, and then what I do just to make sure everything stays in place is I wrap the battery around the other way to make sure none of that tape comes off and none of those wires can accidentally get pulled out. And there you have it. There's a AA battery with wire leads to help you find speakers, test polarity. This can be used in a car or on a test bench. What I'm going to show you here is why the AA method works really well in car audio. So here you have an aftermarket speaker. On these terminals, skinny one is negative, the bigger one is positive. Even on the actual plate right there, it's actually marked. It's not going to be real easy to see, but down in there it has a plus and a minus sign. Here's a factory speaker. That's the plug. That's why, if you can get to a store or order online a speaker harness for your vehicle, that's the best way to do it. Nowhere on the speaker does this tell you whether or not the left or right terminal is positive or negative. So now what I'm going to show you is what the battery will do when you touch it to the terminals to help you figure out what's negative and positive. Since this speaker has a cloth grill over the front of it, we can't really see the cone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it upside down, reposition the camera so you can see the cone move to tell us whether or not we got positive or negative, or if the speaker's in phase. Alright, what I'm going to do is take my battery, has the wires coming off it, one's positive, one's negative, and I'm going to touch the terminals of the speaker. Depending on which way the speaker moves, tells us which wire or which terminal is positive. Right now you can see that the speaker is moving down, which means it's moving out. That tells us that the right side of the clip is going to be my positive and the left side is going to be my negative. Let me show you what it looks like if we touched it opposite. It's going to move inward, which means it's moving the wrong way. So that's out of phase. It's moving in. Switch them around. It's going to move out, which means it's in phase. What we have here is a speaker harness. They come in a set of two. One for your left, one for the right. This one specifically is for a GM product. Notice the one end, it is specifically for the model of vehicle that you purchased it for. The other end will fit most aftermarket speakers. They have universal ends on them, one for positive and one for the negative. You will not be able to buy these speaker harnesses for all vehicles. There are some cars that you just can't buy them for. So what you need to do then is, hopefully you bought brand new speakers. If you did, then they come with these. A set. One for your left, one for your right. Doesn't matter which one you use on which side. Although, the white on an aftermarket stereo is always your left, and the gray on an aftermarket radio is always your right for your front speakers. Your back speakers are green and purple. So I always like to keep the white on the left, gray on the right. In order to get these connected in your vehicle the correct way so that your speakers are in phase, you'll want to use the AA battery method. Once you use the battery to test the speaker to find out which terminal is positive and negative, then you will match it up to your car, find out which wire goes to which terminal, and then splice into those wires using these. The black stripe is going to be your negative, the solid color is going to be your positive. Then connect the speaker and install it. Before you secure the speaker in the car, you may want to use the AA battery again just to double check to make sure you did use the right wires to make sure that the speakers are in phase. Another use for the AA battery is to locate where the speaker is in your vehicle. Let's say these wires right here are coming out from behind the head unit that you've removed, and you're not sure which speaker they go to. Well, you're sitting in the front seat. Take your battery. Doesn't matter if you're touching negative or positive. Touch them together and you'll hear a static noise. Listen for where that noise is coming from, and that's where your speaker is at. This method's not going to let you know if the speaker's in phase or not unless you can actually see the speaker moving. But you'll at least know where that speaker is located. Another use for the AA battery in a car audio situation is, let's say you have a factory radio and you want to install an amplifier and a subwoofer, or even a 4-channel amp. Then you'll need to purchase a line-out converter, either a 2-channel or a 4-channel. Before you can install the line-out converter, you're going to have to figure out which wires in your car go to each speaker. You're going to need, for a 2-channel line-out converter, 2 speakers, a left and a right, preferably from the rear. If you're doing a 4-channel line-out converter, you're going to want to grab each speaker, your fronts left and right, and your rears left and right. Make sure when you're tapping a 4-channel line-out converter into your factory wiring that you connect them the appropriate. All left to left, all rights to right, all fronts to fronts, all rears to rears. This way, when the install is finished and you're playing the music, everything balances. Everything that's supposed to be in the left is in the left, everything that's supposed to be in the right is in the right. It's going to give you your best possible sound. I'll go into more detail on how to install a line-out converter, whether it's a 4-channel or a 2-channel line-out, once I get an install. Stay tuned. AA battery can come in handy when troubleshooting a system also. Let's say your front left speaker went out and you need to test to find out if it's the speaker, or if it's the wire, or if it's the radio, or if it's the amplifier. If you have an aftermarket radio, the easiest thing to do besides taking the door panel off is to slide the radio out. If it's ISO mounted, it all depends on which is going to be harder, to take the door panel off or to take the radio out. Let's go with that it's not ISO mounted, it's just cage mounted. So you'd slide the radio out. Find your white and your white with a black stripe. That's your front left speaker. Once you find those two colors, you're going to want to cut where the crimp has been made or where the solder joint is. Now on the wires leading to the speakers, not the radio, you'll want to use your battery to test those wires to see if you can get a popping noise from the front left speaker. If that speaker pops, then you know there's something wrong with the radio. Let's say you're checking it from an amplifier. You disconnect the wires, the white and the white black, from the amplifier, and then you would test toward the door. So the wires going from the amp to the door. If it pops, then you know there's a problem with the amplifier. If it doesn't pop in either situations, it could be a couple of things. One, on the radio, the channel could be bad. If you're running an amplifier, that channel on the amplifier could be bad. This could also mean that the wire itself has been pinched or grounded out, or there's a bad connection. So what you're going to have to do is remove the door panel, test the speaker itself using a AA and a multimeter on the ohm setting, and if the speaker tests good, then you know you got to start tracing that wire back from there to the amp or to the radio to find out where the line has been broken. One of the final things that I use a AA battery for is for amp bypasses. What I'll do first is I'll look up on a reputable website, figure out what the wire colors are supposed to be. I'll locate the amplifier, find those supposed wires. Sometimes you won't find them, and that's where the AA battery really comes in handy. Because with the AA battery, you cut about 3-4 inches away from the amplifier and then test toward the speaker, not toward the amplifier. And if you get a popping noise, then you know you got 2 wires that are going to the same speaker. If you don't get a pop, then you're going to need to keep cutting and keep testing. But if the website that you visited has the correct wiring colors, then it's going to be no problem. The battery is just there for backup. Let's say the website didn't have the correct colors and you need to cut the wires to determine which ones go to which speaker. So your front left, front right, rear left, rear right. Unfortunately, using the battery is not going to help you with polarity when you're doing this alone. If you have a friend nearby, have them look at the speaker, have them tell you whether or not it's moving in or out, and that way you'll know what is negative and what is positive. With door panel speakers, 9 times out of 10 you're going to have to remove the door panels. It's worth it though, because if you have them out of phase, it's going to sound terrible. With rear deck speakers, you should be able to see the speaker move from underneath inside the trunk. Those are all the tips and tricks I have for using a AA battery in a car audio situation. If you need to contact me, you can get me at rawcustoms.m.i@gmail.com. Social media sites are as follows. Facebook is under Raw Customs Mobile Install. Instagram is rawcustoms_m_i. Google Plus is under Raw Customs, and of course YouTube is under Raw Customs. Check out some of my other videos. Hope to see you guys again. Also, don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.